Anu, did you put on music? We can't hear it.
Okay. Can you hear it now?
Now, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I have my friend today, Anja, who's going to be introducing. So Anja, over to you.
Thank you, Anu. And thank you, Christine, for being our third speaker in this series of I Am Every Woman. Christine's title is Heart Condition. Christine Hale says, today I am a medically retired from my long-term career 63-year-old. I now live my life quite differently than previously. I worked in the food flavoring industry for 30 years, 24 of which were spent traveling the UK as a sales manager, working with companies like Mars, Campbell's, Nestle, PepsiCo, and many more. I traveled in Europe to having worked for both German and French companies. I grew up in southern England in a family with 4 children. I married later than most at 35. Didn't have children and split from my husband 13 years ago to go and find me in capital letters. Over to you both. Anu, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Anja. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anu, no, cannot hear you. You're muted. Now you were muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is what happens. Internet, running between the things, and all kinds of possibilities. Thank you, Christine, for being here, and thank you, all of you. Today, we are going to be asking Christine, about her life, not just about her book. And that's so interesting. It's not her book, it's a book which is created by 15 authors, 15 women. And as I'm reading every day another story and meeting another author, I'm just sitting down and saying each one of them is on a journey of finding themselves. Each one of them is finding the capital me. So, Christine, over to you, and I'm going to ask you, how does one go around finding me? I mean, how does one do that? Because it's as if all you authors, we've met a couple of them, Anja and I, and it feels as if there's a deep desire in all of you to connect with yourself. And what is that yourself and what does that mean? Thank you, Christine.
Wow. Yes, I think that is the true connection between all of us. We hadn't perhaps realized that. But for me, and it was actually something that I said to my ex-husband as I was leaving, and the decision I had made to leave. I need to go and find me, because I had realized I was living my life in a pattern that, well, it wasn't me. And I wouldn't have actually known then what me was, but you asked me how did I find that or whatever. But it just evolved, I think, because I'd moved out of a space that wasn't right for me. And I then did some discovering. I ended up doing some Reiki training and then got into meditation and yoga, and also had an occasion when I had stress-related illness from work, and had a lot of time to really look back into me. I was actually in a priory hospital for a couple of weeks, and that was really good to be introspective, because you were in this space where you were safe and you were looking at and pulling you apart a little bit. And there were things that were asked of me there. When people look at me and one of the girls there actually said to me, she said, well, you look to be the happiest inmate that I've seen, or you're a patient that I've seen here. And then we were in one of the courses, and it was all about self-esteem. And they asked as to where your level of self-esteem was. And I actually said, well, mine's sort of here, but it has been right down and through the floor in the past. And it was that, I think, some of those things that were drivers to me to go and find me, because I had realized that the person that I am now is a long way from the person that I left my husband. So it's been a progressive process, but actually learning and being open to learning as well, which I think is key, because if you try and force, it doesn't work. So
Thank you so much. And there's so much I was hearing. And when you say, oh, my self-esteem was really down there.
mm.
And now I know what I'm doing. I know I'm the most cheerful person. And I hold this persona around me. I'm going back in the time to that 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how we get stuck at, or we become really strong at 6 or 5 or 4 or whatever age, and we make decisions around our life. Decisions that are going to last with us forever, ever and ever. There are some decisions that you made on that day. And those decisions were very beautiful decisions when you were standing in that church and you had to give your exam. Could you tell everybody what that little ballerina girl was doing there? What was really happening around her? And despite how she was feeling, how she picked herself up, and what is it about that girl that still keeps coming back to you again and again and again?
Mm. So I would say, and the memory is, I was taken to the ballet exam by a mother of one of my other class who was doing the exam on the same day. And, so I wasn't with I knew them, but it wasn't like my parents or any of my family there. And then the whole process of course, you're an amount nervous because you have to perform. And I just say, I remember, and I still find it a bit amazing that that's where my story started. When I sat down to write, that came out. I can even picture myself now standing there, and you stood very tall, straight arm, straight posture, etc. And wouldn't necessarily have had anything going through my head, but it was that thing of, right, I've got to do this and be, show the best of me to fit into that box of being a good ballerina and getting the good scores for the exam. And I think also the other bit that came from it was that because I managed to do the things successfully, like I say, you know, clap the rhythms and do my dances and do everything to my best, that also fed into like, well, this gives me strength thinking like this or being this person. So then that's really potentially why she ended up living through my life with me. And she's still here today, because I think even now, this minute.
I can actually feel her there.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting up very upright, which is my way of sitting anyway. And, you know, but I think that was, if I had really known all about self-knowing or self-awareness, that was part of where all of this came from in the end.
Absolutely. Christine, if you had to meet that, and you are meeting, she's sitting right next to you, um, what would you tell her today? What would you tell that little one, the little Christine, who's just so graceful, so amazing? Even when she's scared, she's kind of, that's not come through.
Mm-hmm.
She's really been someone who's an inspiration. What could you say to her today?
Well, I would say a big thank you to her for giving me that baseline to start from, and you know, helping me through some amazing timelines, operations, a whole load of things that I never saw or expected in my life. And I think and also, yeah, you know, you did good, but it was, I suppose, a bit of a subconscious awareness. To say, it's only been since I wrote my story that it came back up to the fore of, well, that's where it all started, and that's how I've managed to get through these parts of my life, or this, to where I am in my life, still in the positive mindset. I mean, I spoke to a business coach of mine just the other day. I hadn't spoken for a while, and he still says, I'm the most positive-minded person he has ever met. And that is, for me, coming from somebody who's done a lot of work in that area, for him to say that. And he said he actually learns from me, he's learned from me as well about how I have managed and not allowed myself to fall into spaces that I could have in my life. So the Little Ballet Girl has been huge in my life, and but unknowingly until now. So that's also been, so yeah, a big thank you to her.
Wow. And I remember when I was reading, it says that she wanted her mom and dad to be there. And she knew they wouldn't be there. So I want to ask her today, mom and dad aren't here, but they're definitely being the guides, and definitely this is happening because they want this to happen. But you know what's interesting? You have Louis here, you have Anja here, you have Karen here, you have Sabah here, and you have Anu here. And we all want to see that girl shining. So how does she feel when, from a space where nobody was really watching, and now everybody is looking at her and getting inspired by her? How is she feeling?
I actually have huge gratitude for everybody who's attending today and everybody that I've met through this book process. But also, I have more love in my life than I've had in a very long time. From people and ladies, beautiful ladies that I haven't yet physically met. And that just fills my heart with joy. And it puts me, I'm sitting here, my heart is swelling, because they're the people that I should or sorry, they're the people that are right to be in my life and be part of my life. And it goes back and forth both ways. And I think that's something that I also learned within my marriage, that it was actually a lot went from me, not much came back the other way. So to have this, it's unconditional flow of love is just beautiful. And that, yeah, I am truly, truly grateful for.
Actually, I'm truly, truly grateful that you're speaking.
Mm. Thank you.
I'm really, really, and this is something that I have found when I'm talking to you. I'm beginning to feel that there's nothing called no, and there's nothing called, oh, I have a problem and I won't be able to come out of it. So could
Mm.
you tell people what really and why are we saying constantly, hey, you have met life with resilience, love, grace, and connected with it. And you haven't looked at the limitations, you've looked at the positive side of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell the audience what kind of illness you had or have? I don't feel like saying have, so I'm going to use had, because illness or a disease is only in our head.
Yeah. Yeah.
That everything changes. Could you just tell people what is it that you're dealing with? Thank you.
So I actually had diagnosed at the age of 54, which is, it will be coming up to almost 10 years ago, that I had what's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which means my heart doesn't work well from the lower chambers. There's an issue with the upper chambers. So my heart is really not in a good working space. And when it was diagnosed, it was like, well, how can this be? You know, I've always done sport and exercise, been fit, skied mountains, climbed up mountains, run, swum, whatever, scuba dived. So how can it be that it's only just showing itself now? And initially, that was quite a hard thing for me to face. And then I had a whole run of operations where they were trying to stop the what they call fibrillation, which is the top of the heart going out of rhythm. And they were all testing, like I said in the book, 5 times I went into that it's a lab, not an operating theatre, and 5 times I came out of hospital with a smile on my face, because I was at least, let's say, a lucky one. There are people with my condition who would just drop down dead. So I'm also grateful that I'm here. But the whole thing of finding, well, I've never really allowed myself to go into a very, very deep space of self-pity or why me. It only hit one time when I shouted out, why me? Or how can this be? Was when I was told I wasn't viable for a transplant, heart transplant. And that did take me a little while to get through. And I think I actually had, it wasn't diagnosed, but I think I had a level of PTSD there, because it was just such a shock to my system of where I thought I was headed, and then all of a sudden that was just cut away again. So it's that whole process, and I don't know how it still I couldn't say to somebody XYZ do this to keep yourself in this position. I'm out here in Portugal at the moment, and I was determined when I got here to get myself a level of fitness back again. The girlfriend I'm staying with, she loves swimming, and we found 100 meters pool, and we've been swimming in that. And I actually got in that pool and I swam 100 meters straight off, not fast. And in that time now, we've been 3 times, I've been able to swim 6 lengths of that. It's a full 100-meter pool. You're at one end and you're going, where's the end? but you know, because then I know if I'm fitter, that helps my body, helps my heart, helps my muscle strength. All of that helps with everything, the blood moving around your body. So I learn a lot about, I don't Google all my condition, but I learn about what I can do in my own way to maintain myself at a better level, rather than just say, oh, I'm just going to sit on a sofa and do nothing, because that's not my mindset. I've got another 6-7 days here, so at least another 3 swims. I'm looking to get and see if I can get up to 10, which will be swimming a kilometre. So, and it makes me feel good, and it also helps up here because I used to use running as my mind clearer. But yeah, it's that's how I managed that. And I accepted. If I battled against it and said, you know, why me? How can I, you know, how can this be? And lived in that space, then that would only take me down and keep me down. Whereas I'm going, what can I do to be the best I can be with what I've got? And that's, again, it's a strength that it's been with me all my life. And I am a ballet girl or not, but it's always been something that I have been aware, because everybody expects somebody that's got a, you know, my heart condition is classed as being end stage heart failure. Those are very big words to swallow. And I basically, when it was said, straight back to my cardiologist, well, what's the expectation? He said, there is no, you know, it's unknown. People with end stage heart failure might live 2 years, they might live 20. Well, I said, I'm living 20, I'm going to live till over 80. I'm going to live longer than all my family. So that's my mindset. So I'm not going to be beaten.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's like what I hear is that you don't want to be, you don't look at yourself as a victim. You look at yourself, you're looking at the opportunities and you're looking at how to create life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other side of the spectrum. And it's a choice that you're taking.
Yeah.
I want to be here. I'm very curious because when I was reading about that 6-year-old, she didn't leave my brain. She didn't leave my mind. She didn't leave my heart. She was everywhere around me. And when I was reading the chapter again today, she kind of kept speaking to me. She kept talking to me. And she wanted to know whether you still feel lonely, because you said there that you stood there even if, even when you were an introvert, you posed as an extrovert. Even when you were scared, you kind of stood there doing what you had to do. Yes, you wanted people to be there, but that wasn't the only thing. You carried something home for your parents that they really wanted, and to see you perform well, to do well. They didn't have to be there to see you doing well. They knew that you did well from the authorities who told them, hey, your daughter did brilliantly well. So she wants to know, why were you lonely on that day? And why is that loneliness still there with you? And what do you do about it? Thank you.
So lonely on that day, I think it was just because I was there with a classmate, let's say a ballet classmate, and her mum was there. So it would just be nice to have that. But I would say the other side is that I always consider myself to be the middle child. I have an elder brother, elder sister, me, younger sister. And the 3 girls were all a little, you know, we weren't a unit. So we were individuals. And I think for me, that was something that just, yes, there are times I think, yes, there was loneliness, but I don't have loneliness now. I would say that what happens with, if I feel I need to have space, it's not because it's lonely, it's just that I need to let my body either recover or just to have a bit of downtime. So it might be that I just sit and watch TV all day, or I don't go out and do a swim, or don't do this or don't do that, just listen to my body. And in actual fact, no, I wouldn't say I'm lonely now, because I've got so many beautiful new friends and people that you can have conversations with. And I think, again, that's something maybe to do with our society, that, you know, this phone of mine is, I wouldn't ever wanted to say that it's very important to me, but it does, because it brings me lots of beautiful words from friends on Facebook pages or in WhatsApp messages. So, and you know, with the group of 15 ladies, we've created connection without physically being together. So I don't think we can, people shouldn't, let's say, that's a hard word to say, shouldn't ever be lonely in this world these days. But I think it's, again, as to how you approach it.
Wow. So it's about knowing, it's about having that little space. It's not about loneliness. It's about getting your me time. It's not about, oh, I'm lonely when I'm alone. I'm actually getting
Mm,
when
yeah,
I'm alone. And I choose to give myself that space.
yeah, yeah.
So you seem to have made many choices, including not staying with the man that you married and were married for 20 years.
Mm,
For many women today in my country, as well as across the globe.
mm,
And there was one line that you mentioned saying that I must have kept going in this marriage because I wanted my mom and dad to see me not as a failure.
mm-hmm,
And I'm sure that is not just a sentiment that you have, but it's a sentiment that a lot of women in India share. And
mm,
they don't want to get out of a system because, even if it's not working, because it means a lot to someone else that that system works. Could you tell the women and men in who are watching this and who will be watching this over a period of time, why should they stay in a marriage or a commitment, and what does that commitment really mean? And when you got out, how did you know that's the right time to get out? How was it not before? And 2 minutes later, how did you know that's the time? Yes, now I know. If I leave, I really leave. I'm
mm,
not saying it in my head all the time. I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving. And I haven't done anything about it. But I leave with
yeah.
with a choice that I take. How do you do that?
How do you do that? Well, I would say that I actually had done some pre-preparation and thinking about where I was. And I think, I actually do believe, and I don't know, because I can't ask my parents whether that would have been something they would have felt as a negative or a failure if I had left my marriage. But it was a year after my mother had died. My father had died a long time before, that I then left my husband. But I was a little sneaky. I actually did some pre-planning, because I actually didn't want to be just walking out of the door and going to nothing, which I think quite a lot of people, women, even men, do. They walk away because they want to get out. They've got to get out. But I actually got myself organized to have a flat to move to. It was a month from when I told them I was leaving till when I actually left. So that's a very short time, but there had been a lot of time before when I had been just going, this is going to happen because I can't stay here. This isn't right. And I think that helped me make the step away, because I knew where I was headed, that I had something to at least go to, rather than maybe sleeping on somebody's couch for a month, or moving around different places. Or I could have made myself really busy with work and stayed in hotels, care of my company. That would have been perhaps a solution. Never thought of that one. But the whole thing of being I think, again, and it comes out again, the word allowing myself to say, okay, now is the time. Now, if I stay here longer, I'm just going to get more and more lost, more and more whatever was not work for me then. So, and it is getting to that point and saying, that you're worthy of more, or you're worthy of what you want to see, or where you put your views to. I mean, I didn't see it. I mean, again, all of this happened before anything with regard to my heart. So I had no inkling that I would then be facing all of this by myself, and being the person that managed that. But I don't know how it would have been managed if I had been in my family, or with my ex. So it's I would just say, do not sit there and not waste your life, but you've got a life to live, and that's my attitude, life to live. And if it isn't right with that person, then make the brave decision, courageous decision to step away, because it's your life. It is your life. Now, I know when you get married, until death us do part, whatever. But that's a little bit old-fashioned nowadays, I would say. It's a difficult thing to say that that's going to last, because how many marriages actually do last till death us do part? And it's making, I mean, I just don't know. I've been away from him for 13 years, and it's like, well, in actual fact, funnily enough, tomorrow would be my wedding anniversary. Yes, it happens. Would have been my, oh gosh, wait a minute, 20, it would have been my 28th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
No, but it just goes by. I just know, because I was thinking about it, because people were talking about the 24th and 25th, because I got married at the registry office and then had a blessing, so I had 2 ceremonies, which was lovely because I had 2 dresses. But it's I don't sort of mourn, oh, it would have been that day. It's just okay, it would have been that number of years. But to have had those extra 13 years in where I was, I just cannot comprehend that. So it's allowing yourself, if you've got that vision, to step through into it. Like I say, step through the illusion of what you're living in, step out through the other side, and be you. And that really now is what runs my life, is me being me. And if I was to meet somebody, they would have to be very, very much on a par and see life as I do. I wouldn't, as I said, I think I bent quite a lot in my marriage to fit into an expectation or just the life that came with my ex.
So, Christine, what do you think is love?
Love. For me now, love is somebody, the whole feeling of, you can be in the space with somebody and it's nothing to work at, and be around somebody and say, just be yourselves, and have for me to have similar views. So you're actually, you can have conversations, but you've got a similarity. And I think I mean, naturally, I've said it, if I do meet someone, they would actually have to tick a lot of boxes. And that sounds a bit harsh when you're talking about potentially being in love with somebody, but it's actually a bit of a prerequisite. So it's almost like getting to know somebody really well first before you actually fall in love, rather than going all head first in and then realizing that you don't really know this person that you've fallen in love with, married, and then you get yourself out the other side and go, "Whew, all right, okay, let's start again." So, and for me, the other side of it is just somebody to support me, because I've done such a lot of stuff by myself, and somebody to treasure what I bring into the relationship, because I bring a lot.
Of course you do.
Mhm.
You've constantly supported yourself,
Mhm.
heard yourself, danced, sang, ran,
Mhm.
climbed up, climbed down, done whatever it is required to kind of connect with life and make people happy. Like you said, you've sometimes even bent over to keep others in a good place. You're not expecting people to bend over, but I'm sure you're just expecting people to stand with you,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
with all that love.
Yeah, absolutely. And it stand with me side by side, in front, behind, whatever. But yeah, side by side, yeah. And it's there, and there's a connection. Because for me now, there's a lot of my gut feeling, my heart feeling, my intuition knows, and that's where I allow myself to be guided from, not totally, but it actually allows me just to say, okay. But then you just ask a few little questions. Does that work, or this work, or does that fit, or how would that be? So yeah.
Wow. For a minute, I got blank and I was just thinking, ask you next. It just kind of, I just went into the space because I was looking at a pool in front of me, and the 100-meter pool which you want to kind of swim in. And there's this man who seems to need the same vision to kind of
Mm.
you, because
Mm-hmm.
you're so focused with a focus and a vision right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, that you want to live for 80 years and you want to live a life which is full, complete, totally amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You say you found yourself, or and you are, of course, in the process. We never find ourselves completely,
Mm-hmm.
because we just pick up parts and pieces of ourselves and then put them back together as a puzzle. Um, if mom and dad were standing here today, would they be proud of all the decisions you've taken? And the universe was giving them that report card exactly the way the little.
Yeah, I think in actual fact, yes, and they would be amazed to see who I was now, but be very proud. Yeah. And that makes me, it makes me emotional, but makes me smile, because again, we weren't a very emotive family in saying those sort of things. So, but if they can hear me, yes, I'm sure they would know that I've looked after me and been in the right space for me. So,
Wow. You know, it's so profound when you say, I looked after me.
mm.
Could you say that once more so that women in my country would hear this? I looked after me.
Yeah, I looked after me. That absolutely, I look after me, and in actual fact, that's what I say. Me is number one in my world, and that's not anything selfish or anything big-headed. It's just what does Christine need, and how does she feel about it? And in actual fact, since we last spoke, I'm going to tell you something that's really quite interesting. I'm doing a training at the moment with the business that I'm in, and part of that process is actually challenged us to declutter. So I've been decluttering anyway, some stuff at home, but the biggest declutter that I'm going to do is that when I get home, I will change back to my maiden name. It's Christine Hale. Hale is my surname. And I'm going to go back to being Christine Wright. And that's a biggie. And I had never really thought about, it was my friend, actually, we were having a discussion. She said, but you're still living with your husband's name. So are you still living in, his world or whatever? I'm not. But it was that whole thing of, wow. And in actual fact, I also used to have a ring on here and 2 bracelets, which were not ones that he bought me, but they were linked to the fact that I had them when he was with me. I was with him. They've gone, and they're going to get sold when I go home. And it's amazing, honestly, how free that this left hand just feels so different without them on. And but that's what I would say to people, because that's what happens when you start looking after you and you focus and you say me, because it's well, my girlfriend said, she said they're not bracelets, they're handcuffs, which I never viewed as that, but potentially it could be. And I would say back into your culture, then sometimes maybe the dowry and the bracelets could be seen as handcuffs. So, but yes, be, I am me.
Christine, I've realized that it doesn't matter where you are. And what's amazing is you carried him with you in your name, which is taken every day as your identity for the next 13 years, even after you said goodbye to him. And it feels as if we carry people like this and we think in our head that we left them behind. We carry them in the ways that they stay with us as that part of us which maybe couldn't make a choice, maybe couldn't, had still got hope. God knows what it was. But congratulations, that's a very big step to take. Looks as if you said something really interesting. You said, it's about I taking my choices and understanding how I feel about those choices. So I really want people to know, how do you feel about the choice that you took, 2 changes that you made? You took off the band, you changed the name, or about to do that. That's a choice you made. And you did say, oh, I'm very free. But just go back, and if you can tell us a little bit more, because this is just such a defining moment where, tomorrow is the anniversary, and it's like you're literally telling the universe, here I come.
I'm done with that. and again, I would say it's I actually feel free, which is a really weird word to put out there, because I've been being free from my ex for 13 years, that I've not been living with him or whatever, and divorced. But it's that whole it was almost like an unseen. I just kept it because to me it sounded a bit, Christine Hale, Christine Wright. I had always said it sounded a bit hard in my mindset. Don't know where that came from, but now it's like, no, Christine Wright, and it's like powerful. Wow, yeah, ballet girl, stand back up straight, and yeah, we're going, bouncing on and moving forward. And I think it is freedom, because again, the challenge, there's when you actually look at changing your name, there's a lot of places you've got to go through. But when you've done it and you've got it all done, it's like that was a challenge, because maybe some people don't do it because it is so there's such a lot of effort in it. I've got to change, driving license, passport, where I live, this, here, that, medical records, goodness knows what, huge amount of stuff. All my heart stuff is in Christine Hale. So again, you've got to say, well, they're okay with that changeover. But it's the I think that's where some people go, oh, well, you know, I'll just stay with it because it's easier. But that for me, in the end, it was like, nah, I'm going to do that. And yes, it will be a long list. I did start writing a list and it was getting very long. And I'm going, oh, really? But that's the process. If you want to get to that, let's say that freedom point, or that place where you, or I've said now, right, okay, I'm going to go back to my maiden name and have, I suppose the other thing would be the energy that it brings, because it's different, you know.
Yes. In my country, we believe that when you change your name, you change your destiny.
Yeah.
You definitely have a different vibration. You move around differently, and people connect with you differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That would be really interesting, because I actually have people anyway now, when I either walk into a room or I actually connect with, walk past some people, I just get looks, and I don't know what it is that's hit them, whether it's aura or it's vibration or whatever. So that if that you see, I'm smiling about it all, because to do that and take that next step forward is going to be, whoa, wow, where will this take me? You know, potentially, today I went and looked at an apartment in Cascais, which is in Portugal, just to see what it was like. Not necessarily going to take it, but just to put it out there and say, I'm making these steps, I'm making this move forward. Rather than, like you say, come out of marriage and just go, oh, I'm out of marriage, I'm not worth anything anymore. You know, there's still you in your life through all of that.
right. There is a place where you've written, I've always stayed in my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like there is a part of you that stays in the comfort zone, but a part of you has never been in the comfort zone.
Mm.
And it felt as if you were only looking at the part of you which was in the comfort zone.
Mm.
So, would you like to elaborate on the part that never was in the comfort zone, and yet maybe you made that part appear very normal and comfortable?
Wow, what a great question. What a great question. And I would agree. Yes, I definitely had parts of me that fitted into the comfort zone, fitted into the job, the marriage, whatever. But if I look at it, yes, there were always bits about me that I would be doing things different or feel different, or yeah, I would actually even say that my job suited me because I had time away. I wasn't 24/7 with my husband or every day with my husband. I had potentially, for quite a while, I had at least 2 nights a week away from home. So that I had my own space that I could be in. So I wasn't always, so that, I was sort of, let's say, almost out of the comfort zone, because I then had my space. And I think maybe that's a little bit of how I managed it. Because I think if I had been in, let's say, 24/7, I don't think our marriage would have lasted as long because of that. Because I hadn't had the, let's say, the little release valve every so often.
It feels as if the uncomfortable part always had short breaks and created comfort and created the illusion of comfort around the place.
And also just fitting in with what everybody else does. You have a house, you have a car, or had a job with a car, well-paid salary. That's the norm, or that's how somebody being successful in life is viewed as. But now I say, when I look back with all the stuff that I've written and then also learned about myself, I look and say, well, you know what? My business that I do, my own business name is called Time to Thrive, and it's thrive rather than survive. And I think I survived for a long time, which was just a way of being and doing, and not allowing let's say, the bit that's outside the comfort zone to really have a place or a hold in my life, because it didn't really fit in with what everybody else was putting out there or doing, you know. And when we got married, we'd been together for 5 years, and when we got married, everybody thought we were going to have children, because I was 35 then, and it was like, no. But because they were all doing that, and they thought perhaps we were just we were catching up a bit, that was what was going to happen. But it didn't. I don't think it would have been a great idea.
Christine, I have last two questions for you. So there was a line where you said that I always wanted people to look at me on the screen, but not this way. And yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, and she wanted to hold a man's hands. But how did she get to hold his hand? He's developed brain tumor. He's in the hospital. And she's gone, sat next to him and held his hand because he has no more strength to tell her, no, you will not touch my hand. Strange are the ways of the universe, because it always gives us what we want, but maybe not in the way that we want it. So if you were to put a wish out there, a vision out there, something that you really, really want, what would it be, and how would you ask it this time so that you get it exactly the way you want?
Ooh. So I think what I really want is to live a contented life, so I can be in balance. I'm not having to think about money, or, well, they don't now, but when I was in my sales jobs, you were always marked by how much business you brought in, or did you live up to your KPIs, or all these sort of things. So there is no marker specifically, but just that I can live a life that's content, that's not doesn't stress me, but it also needs to test me, because again, I would not be a person that can just sit and do nothing. You know, I started this business that I'm in now at the age of 62. And people were saying, but you know, you're retired, or you're nearly retired. I said, well, yeah, but as it happens, I'm not getting my pension till I think it's till I'm 66. So whatever. But it's that whole thing of you know, I'm still, that's I tend to work out of the norm, and I would say to the universe, let me live an out of the norm life, but in a contented way, because that's who I am. That I can't just sit on the sofa or not do anything. I mean, my brain's been more tested through this last year with the business I'm in, but also with everything we've done with the ladies, and particularly, I would say, some of the marketing committee meetings that Anja will agree with, that we had some testing times, but it was actually, we learned so much about how we interacted and how we voiced our words. Whereas again, I think that's something maybe in the past that I haven't. I'd allowed my voice to be not heard so much. So yes, to be, you know, out of the norm. So I'm not in the box that, oh, you're 63, you've got a heart condition, you ought to be sitting there doing nothing. You need to get to be overweight. You need to be, you don't know, because people look at me and say, how can you have a heart condition because you look so healthy? And it's that then also, that's for me, it's a positive, because it's like, well, that's how everybody could be if they could. I don't work to keep weight off, but I actually, it's just the way I live. I have always lived my life. So it's, yeah, I would, yeah, universe, just give me contented life, but not sitting on a big armchair in the corner of a room. Not at all.
You brought my memories back to my dad, who last 10 years sat down on the couch because he couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
And So going to that, it feels like the little girl who was doing ballerina doesn't ever want to sit down. She wants to dance all her life and
Mm.
express not just with her dance, but with her speech, her poetry, her writings right now. And it's such profound thing that you're saying in your expression and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to speak your heart out has opened up the channels for you that would have otherwise never opened for you. So, the last question of the day, and I'm really, really grateful, is if there were parts of your life that you would want to edit, change, what would those be? And if there is a learning that you've got from this experience, which has been written on these little few pages of the book,
Mm.
what would those learnings be?
Okay, so what I would potentially like to edit in my life, I actually would say my marriage, because we had some great times and we did some wonderful holidays and things, but it wasn't a marriage that I felt supported in. And well, as somebody once said, that he took me very much for granted. So I would edit that. And yeah, it sounds quite harsh to say that. But then again, what does marriage mean to him when he is now just about to be getting married to his fourth wife? I was his number two. So again, that's for me says a little bit. And sorry, what was the other little bit of the question? Sorry, I've
What's the learning you've got from your experiences that you've noted down in these few pages in the book?
right, yeah, massive learnings of I think allowing myself to have a voice, letting things flow, because that's what happened when I wrote. It just flowed. It wasn't like what am I going to write next, or how does this go? It just flowed. So I say to people, just generally with life, let it flow, don't force. And I think that's maybe in respect, if I look at what happened with relationship, marriage with my husband, was that was a bit forced because everybody else was doing it. So we jumped into it, and it wasn't. So it's that, and also the other one is being open to being unraveled.
Wow, wow. I mean, you're saying be open, and not just that, if you understand that something is not going in a flow
Yeah,
and you're forcing yourself to do something,
yeah,
no, something is not right.
yeah, yeah.
I am in huge gratitude to each and every one of you here for supporting Christine, for supporting us. And I would really like to open now the platform to any questions that any one of you have, because I feel Christine today, with the huge decision she's made in this last 1 week, is going to not just change the vibrations around her, but around each and every one of us. So I really thank you for being that one person who's instrumental in creating that change in you, because in you I find me.
Thank you. I have so enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions, guys, if you have any.
Christine, have a look at the chat. There's some very nice comments.
All right. Okay. All right, I will do. Chat. There's the chat. Yeah, I will do. I'll save the chat in actual fact. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Any questions, anybody?
I've got one.
Oh, go on then quickly.
Is there another book in you, Christine?
Potentially, yes. I had started writing my life story, but I actually had written it in a way trying to tell absolutely everything that we've learned through the experience with working with Mary Ellen, that we've got the guidance as to how to put some structure into your story. So potentially, yes. So yeah. All right.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Because, you know, in your questions and in her sharing, there are a lot of other people who benefit. If you have any question, please go ahead and express yourself so that she can really express herself back. Thank you.
No, there's nobody.
That's nice.
Not a problem. I think I've said enough. But yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I really, really have. It's been, like I said, when we had our first connect, finding things that come out. And again, that's what happens to me these days is words come out that it's just that I don't know that I would ever have thought or said in the past. So thank you very much, Anu.
Thank you. We're not leaving you so soon. I would like each one at least to do something. If you can say something to her of how and give her some feedback, how you felt about her, or if you can support her in any way, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
All I can say is that I'm very excited to see how your future unravels.
Thank you, Justine.
Yes, and I would like to say, like Christine said, we spent now over a year, almost every Friday together, even though we don't know each other personally yet. I feel this connection, and Christine, I can't wait to finally hug you in real life. And I even learned you are not as tall as I thought you would be, because for me you are a huge person, and I was already told no, I'm a little bit smaller. So I'm prepared for this. So I'm looking for the first hug.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And I'm looking forward to when you have your apartment in Portugal so I can come and visit you.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. Absolutely. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Wow. Does Sabah or Lata or Luis want to say something?
Something.
Thank you.
It's been just a truly privileged journey to be all together for the last year and 4 months now. And I'm sure Christine will get that house, that pretty little house that you showed on Facebook or Instagram. And you'll go to Portugal and you'll be really successful and you'll get so fit that you'll outlive all of us. And I can't wait to meet all together also.
Yeah.
Just be in the same room. God, it's going to be some fun day.
It is absolutely, absolutely.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
We've been together for over a year now. And it's just amazing. I feel like I know everyone personally, but we have never met, you know. So it's
Yeah.
when we meet. Yeah. But thank you, ladies, for coming and supporting our evening here with Anu. And I have received some messages of people also on live Facebook who have been participating and telling me about it. So yeah, it's spreading, and
Wonderful.
we once we're through with everyone, we still have a surprise afterwards. We want to go further, and we'll need your help.
Wonderful. Thank you. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've loved all of it. And unfortunately, I need to go because I've got some friends messaging me saying, we're going out for dinner. Come on, Christine. So.
I just want to read a few messages here that have come through. Sabah Khan, who's there on the platform right now, says, Christina, you are bold and strong. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, you've explained things so transparently.
Yeah.
Bana Lata says, thank you for sharing, Christine, your inspirational and very powerful journey.
Thank you.
Sabah Khan is also saying it's a wonderful session, a great session. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. And thank you. And let's keep supporting each other and let's
Yeah,
fly very high and beautifully.
yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.